All right. Here we are with Ground Zero Florida with my good friend, local educator, Robert Prater. How are you?
Great, great. Thank you for having me on.
Of
Appreciate it.
course. It's good to have you back. This is our second interview.
Yes, yes. Second time. The only other show I've done multiple times is the TED show, and,
Yes,
and
yes.
this is so this is quite an honor. I appreciate you having me on.
Excellent. And I'll say a special hello to Ted. I saw him earlier today, and
Yeah,
I'll be seeing him again Wednesday. So, hello, Ted from Rob's house.
yeah.
So earlier today, we were on the phone and we were just talking about um, the events of last week. It's September 15th, Monday, and it was September 11th that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by a young student, young man by the name of Tyler Robinson. And our conversation, went further to talk about, what's going on as far as political discourse that's happening here in America. A couple of months ago, if if it was a couple of months ago, we had the shootings of the Minnesota legislators, and it's just been a series. You could go on and on.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts?
Well, as someone from Massachusetts, I can tell you, I spent a lifetime with the John F. Kennedy assassination and all of the theories and conspiracy theories for decades, and going to the John F. Kennedy Library across from on Mass Ave up in Cambridge, being in the heart of hearing all of that is what reflected back when I heard about Charlie's assassination. And you're already starting to hear some of those crazy stories and what else might have happened, and we're missing the point. This is a young man with a wife,
Mm-hmm.
two children that's been taken from them,
Right.
and sadly, I can tell you from experience, I've lost my oldest son almost 41 years ago now, and almost to the year, my youngest son passed away, and it's devastating on this family, it's really, once all of the dust settles and everybody goes back to their lives, it really starts hitting home that your child, your husband, your family member is not coming back, and based on your beliefs, we believe Charlie's with Christ, and I believe my children are, and so, but it is quite a bit to digest, and obviously he's left a lot for these young students, this young crowd, and now an older crowd to reflect on.
Mm-hmm.
One of the phrases that I came to mind today was after Pearl Harbor, and one of the things they said, "You've woken a sleeping giant," and I don't know if we've woken anything, because he had 1.8 million followers
Yes, he did.
before he was assassinated. Checked online before we went on, and it's up to 10 million now in 5 days. There are now up to 37,000 requests for chapters for Turning Point. And impressively, 1,200 of them are high schools.
Impressive.
So,
Wow.
what he will leave us is unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be interesting, the days, the months ahead, the next elections. The I think the American people are finally speaking out. As an educator, one of the things we've been really focusing on is bullying. And a lot of kids that I've spoken to have left public school because the parents said, "My kid's not going to keep getting bullied," and we weren't doing enough about it, according to the parent. So, as a former dean, I thought we tried to eliminate the bullying, address it immediately. But parents didn't feel that. So a lot of them took their child out, put them in charter schools or public school, private schools, excuse me. And so we've seen some results from that. But the future is it's going to be, the variables are endless on what we're going to see that comes from this. But sad, tragic event. And
Charlie Kirk's faith meant a lot to him, and I'm sure his wife and those who support him are going to lean into their faith. And for you, was it your faith that brought you to where you are now, where you're able to, continue your life and remember your children, your sons, and continue to focus on what's best for, your family and your community?
I can tell you personally, without God, without Pastor Green was I'm here immediately. Whatever my family needed to this day. If I picked up the phone right now, said I need you to come over and pray with my family, he'll drop whatever he's doing and come. There's no question. You have faith, the support of the members. It is what will make the difference to help you to endure getting through. And I've had people say this to me. You're upset, but if you think he's with Christ, what are you so upset about? Literally, had people say that to me.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's the absence.
Sure.
And it's and we're by nature we're selfish. We continually want more. We want more time with our family.
Correct.
And those are the things that you should be selfish about. Wanting more time, Sunday dinners, Christmases, Thanksgivings, 4th of July, my birthday was a big, and David will tell you, my backyard is like a resort.
It's beautiful. It's paradise.
And we've created this back here because this was our, we weren't going to travel for retirement. This is our retirement.
Yes.
And and it was, delayed with the loss of our son, Devin. At 29 years old. And so when Charlie died at 31, it was just a lot of reminders came back, and I just feel for his wife, and as his children get older, and they're already asking the questions, and the reports out of the wife, Erica, told the daughters that he is on a field trip, I believe, with Christ. So which I thought was perfect. So
there's a plane flying over. If
it's not that perfect, but
if there's any advice that you can give the young people that Turning Point USA and Charlie Kirk made an effort to bring to conservative politics, bring to the church, to faith, what lessons or what advice would you give?
Be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about Charlie was himself. He believed in Christ. He centered his message around Christ. He did create some controversial topics, but he backed them up. And when he was winning an argument, I always noticed there was one common theme. The person that was he allowed everybody to go up and ask the questions, and they would be like, "Well, what do you know? You didn't graduate from college." So now, David knows me. Most people know me. I've given many speeches. I've never written a speech in my life. So here it is, first time ever.
All right.
Okay, these are the people who never graduated from college: Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Larry Ellison, Michael Dell, Steve Ballmer, all, in my understanding, all billionaires, multimillionaires,
yes,
all dropped out of college.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Bezos graduated from college. Warren Buffett graduated from college. So, and I can tell you as an educator,
Okay.
so I never went to college till I was 42 years old.
Mhm.
I completed a 4-year degree in 2 years. And I'll tell you right now, Charlie was sitting right next to me. I would tell everybody in this audience, he was still smarter than me.
Okay.
He self-educated himself
Yes.
on many, many, many topics, not just on the Bible, but on so many. I mean, it's just,
Current affairs, foreign
it
policy,
is.
domestic affairs.
Every time you turn around and you see a clip, he's at Oxford University debating anybody about anything. It went on and on.
And you're right, Rob. I'm sorry to cut you off. He did come prepared. I saw the most recent debate he had with the now Oxford debate chair or president, and I'm just kind of like shaking my head. It's like this guy was nowhere near prepared to face Charlie.
No, and that was the thing he always professed was let's have a civil debate. I mean, It does not have to be turned into violence. It does not have to turn into a shouting match. You can always walk away that you just disagree, and that's not your beliefs. I have yet to meet anyone that can get 100% of the vote. Sure. I have yet to meet another couple, that both spouses agree on everything 100%. My wife doesn't agree on everything I do 100%. I can tell you. And that's what makes America great. I mean, that's what makes marriage perfect. It's
balance.
So perfect word, because nobody wants to eat strawberries in every meal. You gotta spice things up. You really have to, you can't go to Disney World every weekend. You have to,
stay in and read a book or watch a movie.
Add variety to you, differentiate, diversity. We hear all of these words in education, and we have to do it.
Speaking of diversity, I'm seeing more and more on social media, people saying, something, I may not agree with Charlie Kirk on everything, like he said. However, the alternative is not really where they thought they aligned with. And so some of these individuals have pretty much said, hey, I'm going to register as a Republican, or I'm going to join my local chapter of Turning Point USA, or what I like, they said, I'm going to listen more.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's engaged everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you, and being an educator, the amount of young students, and like I said, 1,200 high schools have applied for these chapters that are asking questions. That's the most important thing. You have to ask questions, okay? And then if you like the answer, great. But then research it.
Right.
Research it. And I tell students today, they'll ask, why do we have to learn this math? And I go, well, we don't know what you want to become, so we teach everything. I go, if you know what you want to become, okay.
Right.
But even then, you could change your mind. So we teach you everything. So, but at the end of the day, when you're getting close to your junior, senior year, Google, what are going to be the best jobs 5 years from now? Not today.
That's right.
5 years from now. If you want to look today and you're 12 years old, 13 years old, 10 years from now.
That's right.
Because that's when you're going to be graduating from college or a vocational program.
Right.
And this is one of the things Charlie was talking about. College isn't for everybody.
That's right.
And we don't want you to go into debt and now can't find a job, or now you can't use your degree.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, he was trying to protect younger people. Even though he was young himself, he was many, many years beyond, his age for sure. But but this is what younger children, because we saw this with coding.
Okay.
For 15 years, we told kids, oh, you got to learn coding. You got to learn coding. It's going to be the jobs of the future. AI comes along, and where's coding? Now they're like, well, I'm out of a job. I mean,
that's right. Yes.
You know,
you don't need as many coders anymore.
No. So it's very hard to predict. The growth of technology is it's just unpredictable.
True.
And so we hope we're on the right track. We need our students to, again, they've got to learn. I wrote down another quote, and it
Please.
says, educators should focus on teaching students how to think.
Thank you.
Not what to think is what the quote is. It's not my quote, so I wrote it down. Big moment for me. I usually don't write anything down. But this is shaking me. And I think the timing of it, with my son's anniversary of his passing, which really, I have 6 children. He was the only one following in my footsteps, because the other side of my life is politics, how I met David. So Devin was working on Greg Poole's campaign when he was running, learning, worked on Representative Placencia's campaign, and continued to learn. And so it hit me pretty hard. But here we are.
Your last quote, learning how to think. With the events of last week, are we seeing a new, I wouldn't say a new age, but an awakening in young people who know Charlie Kirk, or who are just learning about Charlie Kirk and the circumstances in Turning Point USA? Do you think now young people, whether they're going into college, whether they're in high school or just finished college, they're rethinking what they learned, what they were educated?
It's funny you brought that up, and I can tell you none of this was preempted or
years of interviews.
Yeah. I've been teaching almost 20 years, because I was telling David, I started off as a substitute. And then I was a teacher aide for a couple of years, and now I've been in the classroom for 16, 17 years. So 20 years of education. Met a lot of students and along the way. And today, of all days, first time ever, I had a student quoting scriptures in my last class, had no idea. She quoted 1 John 4:8, God is love. And she talked about 1 John 5, God is light.
Okay.
And I was like, and she goes, I did not initiate it. She was like, we need Christ back in our schools. She was adamant. I was like, well, you're going to need to talk to the school board, go in front of the school board, and let them know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I disagree with you. But I'm not the person that can make those changes.
Right.
But I can put you in touch with those persons that can make the changes. But I was like shocked. I was proud, but shocked. And all the other kids started I was like, okay, look, I know the bell's about to ring. It was about 5 minutes left in class. I don't know if this is the time or the place, but
right.
I can respect and appreciate the discord, and and there's nothing in the student code of conduct that says you did anything wrong.
Right.
But
yeah.
So everybody has been touched by this. I mean, you have to be living under a rock if you weren't touched by this, and and like I said, we haven't seen the effects, and I don't think we will for a few months. But I think they're coming,
I agree. I agree.
So
I agree. I think that politically, which is our wheelhouse, this will have its effects, and I think it is. Um, Considering the unfortunate circumstances, this is something that conservatives can say, this is what we believe in. We believe in our faith. We believe in doing what is right to make America better. And we're going to be there, and we're not going to stop. And we're going to continue to do this. Our voices will not be, silenced. And again, Charlie Kirk, and there were others, that were killed by, senseless violence, political violence. However, there's just something about a young man going to universities around the country, identifying that there has to be some balance, restoring some balance in just the thinking of individual, circumstances, and thinking about what more we can do and be as better individuals.
Yeah. Well, I started off the conversation talking about JFK and growing up in Massachusetts, and long after, his assassination, and the library, and living there, and being reminded of that, and and then even to today, they're still they just released documents when President Trump went into his second term, so Senator Sanders come out and talked about that there's no place for violence in our government, in our politics, in our schools, anywhere. I mean, it's just, people want it has to stop. And it's not, it's not going to solve anything. That did not. Killing him did not stop the message.
Exactly.
And people need to realize that. I hope politicians do not politicize this. I hope that
they will.
They will.
They will.
I can tell you, I will not.
Right.
I will. When I start, wherever I run, when I run again, it'll be on, what I believe in, and not what Charlie believed. He had his beliefs. One of them was, the Sabbath.
Correct.
The church that I attend does not, we don't follow the Sabbath. Mm-hmm. So there's differences, but politicized in the sense that, oh, Charlie gave his life, you got to go out and vote because now, no, you vote because it's your civic duty.
That's right.
We talked about this about redistricting. Everybody was concerned about how everything was going to get redistricted. How about worrying about people going out and voting? The last primary elections, 17% of the people voted. We don't have to worry about where the lines are if they're not voting anyways.
Exactly.
So we need to find out why people are not voting. What is it that you're concerned with? Is it wasteful spending? Is it? Where I live, and I won't mention who my commissioner is, but I waited 2 years to get new sidewalks. And I live in a neighborhood where people walk their dogs and ride their bikes, walk their children to school every single day.
It's a beautiful community.
And the sidewalks were horrible. 2 years we had these little white dots on where the things needed to be replaced.
2 years.
And it's like, okay, and you see the commercials, I pay taxes on, can you fix the roads? I pay excise taxes. I pay, the tolls, it goes on and on, we can do a better job.
Sure.
And it has to be done through civil discourse. And again, no one's going to agree on everything.
Right.
No one's going to get 100% of the vote. So we live in a democracy where we can vote. However, we live also in a republic where once our representatives are in there, they're going to decide on what's best. Let's hope we don't have to wait 2 more years to get our sidewalks fixed. So it's just simple little things.
You mentioned turnout, and we recently had special elections in West Orange, and we talked about this. And this is one thing about social media. People have to understand reality is not in social media. It really isn't. And there's information, then there's misinformation, and then there are just illusions. And if someone is just on the peripheral of politics, and they were a voter in this special election earlier this month, or earlier in September, they would think that okay, there are campaigns going on, that there's a lot of energy behind it, and it turns out the reality is less than 9% unofficial turnout, less than 9% turnout for a very large portion of Orange County.
See, when I called David after the election was over, I didn't say less than 9%. I said 252,000 people didn't vote.
Yeah.
And that's disappointing. And, and there's got to be, as a teacher, as an educator, I believe in cause and effect. Why are you not voting?
Right.
What is stopping you from what is a privilege? Most people in many countries don't get that privilege. This is why this is part of our democracy. This is what our founding fathers designed. So that, and then as we got so big, instead of going from a direct democracy, we've gone to a republic where the people we elect now will go and write laws, and it'll go through due process to see if they can pass and become law. But when you don't have anybody coming out and voting, it's very concerning.
Is there a place for civic engagement, civil discourse, a conversation about, what one side thinks is good for a district, a state, a country, and the other side having the opposing view? Is there a place when you see something like this?
It's tough because, when you look at our Constitution and, and you compare it in what the founding fathers, many believe that our Constitution was designed by the first 5 books of the Bible. And then when you start getting into the Bible and you start seeing what some of God's commandments were, it starts conflicting with a lot of what people want to do. And it makes it difficult to, respect what they want. So that is where, the unfortunate discourse starts to develop, but it's going to go where the majority is, and what the voters want and what people want, and I can tell you, we've seen it over and over again at school board.
Sure.
Fathers going up and telling the women school board members, go to the restroom. I'm going to follow you in. How are you going to feel comfortable about that? Because I'll tell you right now, my granddaughter, there better not be any men in the bathroom where my granddaughter is. And, and we've seen this. We've discussions, and they're serious. They think that that's acceptable. And then men in the locker room with it. So this is where it gets difficult. And it's like, there's a limit, and we obviously, saw what happened at the Olympics with men participating in women's sports and boxing. One of the boxers got hit with one punch, just said
she was done,
and walked out of the ring. That's just, it can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a level of common sense. There's level of what is acceptable and what isn't, and this is where where it gets tough. And there might be many that might say, I have nobody debating me, and I'm able to, give my, I have a free reign here. But like I said, that's what I believed before these events happened. And you know, it'll be what I believe afterwards,
Right.
when the dust settles, if it settles, because I've never seen anything like this, where this much of the country has engaged in it. And it's sad it had to take it took this.
Right.
Even though we were going in that direction. 1.8 million followers is no slouch.
That's right.
And you saw the crowds at these campuses. And many believe he went right into the lion's den.
Yes.
But you saw how many, believed what he believed,
Right.
that were there. And so, again, I go back, and his poor wife and children as they grow older, and it's just going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough on them, and it's going to take a lot of support from family, friends, and their ministry. So,
For the young people who have taken the time to reflect on everything that's happened, what words of encouragement do you have for them?
if you have questions, ask them. Don't be afraid. Because a lot of kids, they're afraid to get laughed at.
Sure.
As we get older, and when we're sitting in a room with a room full of adults, and we get times to say, listen, just no question, no statement is stupid. Let's throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. And so, we have to do that with our young ones, and tell them nothing's off the table. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what you believe. Tell us what you don't understand, and make it a rule. No one can laugh, and if they laugh, don't worry about it. They could be nervous. We'll explain, and if it's inappropriate laughter, then we'll take them outside. We'll address it and bring them back in. We don't just eliminate them because they laughed. So feelings and emotions are difficult to harness, and the younger you are, the tougher it is.
Sure.
One of the qualities and I don't know where I got it from, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It's just, my grandchildren. I have 2 grandchildren, and they could be playing in the room next to me, and my wife will come in. You don't hear that? I go, hear what? And it's like, I'm at school all day, and I deal with 150 of this. I go, noise is normal to me. I wrote a paper one time in college, and I was the only student that included what a classroom should be like.
Okay.
And noise was one of the things I put in there. The professor come to me, where'd you get this idea about noise? I go, I could stand outside a door of a classroom, and if it's quiet, they better be taking the test, because there's no teaching going on in that classroom.
Okay.
So when you hear noise, there's engagement going on. Yes. There's learning going on. There is, the discourse that the teacher is asking the who, what, when, where, why, how. And even if it's math, I've always said, you still got the, what do you want me to do? How do we do it?
Right.
So these noise is good. These teachers are like, shh, quiet. No. I want to tell me, what are you thinking? Mm-hmm. We've done this for a generation where we have stifled our kids, and it has to stop. Like I said, we read that quote again. Educators should focus on teaching students how to think.
Yes.
Not what to think. We need to hear what they're thinking, and we're going into, we're 25 years into the 21st century.
Yes, we are.
25 years. I'm like, I go back to 1925, and I'm like, holy, it's like we had electricity for 10 years. They thought it was a big deal. the phone, the car, the washer and dryer. People, these were the inventions back then.
Right.
It's, but now we have the cell phone, and it's that cell phone has become very, very dangerous. So thank goodness the legislator has, realized it and put some things in place, and I call them safe havens.
Okay.
Where these phones have been put away at schools, so learning can happen. Or you go into the cafeteria now, you want to talk about loud. Holy cow! No phones. No one's sitting there texting away.
They're
talking.
Interaction.
They're talking. So, and it's good. Sometimes you got to walk around and listen to what they're saying without them knowing you're listening, and
right.
And you'll learn a lot. But to circle back around, the country is praying for Erica, the children, his mom, his dad, and I know what that dad is going through because I've gone through it not once but twice. And I was a 21-year-old kid that lost a little baby, and it took me 25 years to talk about it.
Right.
And it was extremely, extremely, extremely difficult because when you're 21 years old, you're told you got to act like a man, and crying back in those days was not manly, and so you held the tears in. But once I realized he grew up, and this is what they're going to realize about Charlie, when he turns 40, turns 50, could have turned 60, what he would have accomplished. It's going to continue to bring back those memories, those tears. And, so I encourage them all to talk to people and tell people how you feel. And of course, anger will eventually rear its head. And,
of course,
because he was taken from us far, far too early. And it was somebody that was doing a lot of good, whether you agreed with him or disagreed with him. He was re-engaging college campuses,
yes,
like no one has in decades.
That's right.
And and hopefully that momentum will continue. Those conversations will continue. That's all I can pray for.
Rob, we talked about the younger people, and in closing, because my coffee's getting cold, I think it's probably the mug. Go White Sox.
Everybody knows I'm the Red Sox, big Red Sox fan.
What lessons can be learned, or what lessons can you teach our generation, particularly the ones that are our peers, the politicos, the candidates, the electeds?
That's a great question, and one I've been pondering, and because I hope in the very near future to be a candidate again. And it's you're not going to get everything you want. You're not going to get 100% of the vote. You're not going to get every bill passed. You're not going to win over every person, but walk away with a smile. Walk away with a thank you for listening. And if they're angry, walk away and hope for another day that maybe somebody else can get through to them and or reflect on what they had to yell at you about, and sometimes words could make sense even though they're coming at you loud. Stay calm, stay patient, but it's times that they'll get better, and then I've been, like I said, boy, the amount of events we've seen from the Challenger explosion to even before that, Reagan being shot, to the Columbia spaceship. I mean, we've had some things happen in space, but obviously 9/11 was a big one.
Right.
I wasn't born during, Pearl Harbor, but you still hear the quotes,
Sure.
and in what we see today, even then, FDR said, "Show me a volunteer, and I'll show you the heart of an American." And so, um, we get involved. If you want to be part of the solution, then you get involved. And if it means volunteering, volunteer. 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, whatever you have. I mean, you'll make friends.
Yeah, that's true.
You get lunch, and you'll, and you'll enjoy some good conversations with some great people.
Yeah.
Um,
Can learn something.
I have been involved now in Orange County politics now for about 10 years, and I have made a lot of friends, and on both sides of the aisle. And whether they were Democrat, Republican, union members, non-union members, I have some very, very dear friends that I can speak very, very highly of, and they know how I believe and what and I know how they believe. I respect them, and many of them have shown up, during my son's celebration of life on both sides. And when they walked in the door, they didn't say, "Okay, Democrats here." No, okay, the Republican. No, they said a friend was here, and some very, very dear, dear friends of mine, and I thank them all to this day.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you sharing your time with me, welcoming me into your home and your beautiful paradise here
Yes.
in the backyard. As we close out, and is there any specific message for the residents of Orange County as we go further into this election cycle?
Well, I gotta be honest. When David and I spoke this morning, and we talked about doing the show for the first time ever, and I've been interviewed many, many times. Channel 2, Channel 6, 13, and the newspapers. And this is the first time I was really nervous. On yeah,
You did pretty well.
because it is a very touchy subject right now, and and I wasn't even sure if I could hold it together, knowing that this is kind of rare. The past of my son's passing away, and so you don't want to say the wrong things, because again, I don't want to politicize this young man's death. I one wrong thing in an interview, people will play it over and over again, and especially if you're in politics. I've heard the saying from like the first day I got involved in politics. It's a blood sport,
Oh yeah.
and I never treated it like that, but I've seen it like that, unfortunately. So, but to all my friends out there, Republican, Democrat, if you have no party affiliation, thank you for everything that you've done for me and my family through my trying time. Support Charlie and his wife in whatever way you can, the 2 little girls, and it's a long road ahead for them. I can tell you, 41 years has gone by, and I don't miss my son any less today than I did when he passed away on September 30th, 1984. But that's my closing message: is hug somebody today, and it's life is too short. I can tell you. I mean, David's a lot older than me.
I just disclosed how old I am.
No, he's not. I'm actually a few years older than him.
All right. I'm the youngest in the room.
There we go. But my doctor tells me I'm going to live to be 102. So
Excellent.
he's very upset. I'm much healthier than him.
Well, I appreciate you always have a friend in me, Rob.
Thank you.
I really appreciate this opportunity to come and sit and talk with you. And,
Ted's gonna be jealous. So.
I'll see Ted. Say, Ted, you're gonna have to, get Rob back on the show, and the three of us.
It's been a while. It's been, and it was a very eventful that last show I was on.
Yeah.
And it was during COVID, and so, but he won. That was the thing. He won.
Yeah. That's indeed.
So it was the first time Ted. We turned the show around and we made it about him, because it was the day he announced that he had gotten cancer.
Right.
And I found out about it 5 minutes before we were going on. And I grabbed a piece of paper and I wrote, "Ted will win," and I'm holding it up and I'm trying to find the screen in the shot. And when he saw it, he kind of broke down, and we talked all about him and all of the great work he has done, and all the guests, and it was a great show. But this again, why I say go volunteer, go and volunteer. These are the kind of people you will get to make friends with, and not for a day, forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Be a part of the world. Yeah. Get from behind the laptop, your cell phone or whatever, and touch some grass, as they say.
Yeah. There's some great people in both parties. When I think of my Democratic friends, Johanna Lopez, even Samuel, who is the chair, we've had some great discussions out at the polling places, and holding up signs and chat, making fun of each other, and you're on the wrong team, and we laugh, and but we're friends. We could go eat lunch together, and and it's great. And that's what it has to be about. Absolutely. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you, sir.
Okay.
I appreciate it. And say thank you to your wife for the coffee and the hospitality. And I want to thank you, our viewers and listeners, to Ground Zero Florida, and of course, all of our other podcasts on the Jane Washington Network. If you enjoyed this particular episode and you enjoy this type of content, please let your family, your friends, those influencers in the wild, those candidates and electeds, let them know about this. Maybe they too can learn a little something about the world around them, as Rob was saying, and share a little love. Thank you. I appreciate it. And God bless. Love you. Bye now.